Hello everyone and welcome to Callsign Charlie Models. Time for another build. This one is going to be a quick build video, so I'm going to do this whole build in one video. And we did the inbox review for this earlier, so I'm going to leave the link for the video right up here. So you should see the inbox review right there. And then moving forward, we're just going to get to work. I'm not going to be doing much talking on this video, so I can do all the speed ramping, but we open it up and we have all the nice parts here. We only have, the only plastic in this kit is the plastic stand right there. The rest of it is all 3D printed. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stop talking now and we can get to work on this beautiful kit. Alright, we're going to try doing a voiceover on this one. So right now I am just getting everything ready, and then with my razor saw I'm going to start sawing off all these little parts that are on here. This was the majority of the beginning step, was getting everything off of the resin cast blocks and getting it all cleaned up. So as you can see here, just working with my knife and my razor saw, getting everything off the blocks. Easy peasy on that. Alright, so for this part I started using the saw, but figured out that the saw wasn't going to be good enough, so I ended up using Dremel on the lower cockpit tub and deleted the dremeling off of the video because it was too loud. Now we're moving on to getting the ejection seats off of the 3D print block using the razor saw, my knife, and also my clippers or sprue cutters, cutting off from the base and then cleaning up the supports from the ejection seat after everything is done. Now we're doing a test fit of the cockpit, checking to make sure that the ejection seats and everything fit properly. And we have this little block that we need to cut off that goes on the back wall of the cockpit right there. Using the razor saw to get it off. Cut off pretty nice, and then fit was, again, absolutely perfect. Same with the ejection seats and everything else. Now we're working with the photo etch, and one thing that kind of irritates me and I don't like about some of the manufacturers is they put that plastic film over the photo etch, and it can be pretty difficult sometimes to remove that plastic film from the photo etch, and sometimes you end up bending the photo etch. So now we're moving on to the some of the smaller parts of the cockpit. I think that was a little lever to go on. And then now we're starting off with the front part of the escape capsule, which took a lot of work, as you're going to get to see right here, trying to get it sawed off from the blocks. It took a lot of work. Slowly scoring everything and then going in with the saw and getting all of that done. With the shape of it, it was not easy to saw off. You couldn't just sand off one straight line. You had to kind of go slowly along the line to get it to saw off, and didn't want to have the saw slip and go onto the fuselage, so be very careful with this. Alright, finally got that off. Now we got to clean up the inside of it, cutting off some of the supports that go on the inside. Cutting those supports off, and then we're going to come in with the Dremel in a little bit and cut off all that with the sander on the Dremel, just to kind of make life a little bit easier. And it took up a lot of work and a lot of dust in the office. And now we're cleaning up some of the ejection capsule area. If you're going to have it with the ejected capsule, you're going to leave this one open. Later on I'll be adding some photo etch to close that up. But if you are going to have it the capsule as the ejected version, you're going to be leaving this open, so you'll be able to see all the detail that's right there as well. Alright, now doing a test fit on the back wall. Back wall fit pretty well. I still need to do a little bit of cleanup at this point. Right along that lip, I'm going to grab my Tamiya file and a little bit of the razor saw to clean that up right there, but it just takes a little bit of extra work right on the very edge of that lip to get that cleaned up, so we get a good flush fit with the back bulkhead for the cockpit. Now we're doing another test fit, and again a little bit more trim off just to get the fit right, and then this back wall right there fit perfectly alongside. You can see the little lip that it fits into on the back bulkhead, and it is a super tight fit on that. Test fit of the cockpit floor. Again, nice perfect fit on that. And then we're going to be test fitting the instrument combing right here. This one did take a little bit of work to get it to fit. There is a little lip on the bottom of it that it fits into. It did take a little bit of extra cleanup to get it to work, using a Flory sanding sponge right there, and then got it working pretty well. The test fit right there worked, but we'll find out later on that it did cause a little bit of issue. Now we're moving on to the photo etch. Photo etch in this kit was very nice and thin, bent very easily where it needed to be bent. Now we're adding in these little sun visors, I guess, onto the instrument combing. And the thing about this is that there are like dog teeth on the leading edge of the instrument combing for those to fit into. So it took a little bit of work to get that to fit into place, but once you get the teeth lined up, it fits perfectly. They're just using a little CA glue to get it to fit. Now we're just going to repeat the process for the other ones. One more little piece to go onto the instrument combing. Nice thing is that they did, for the very small pieces, they did include extras just in case something pings off into carpet monster land. So now we're pulling out some of the small parts. Again, these are the curtains that go onto the, actually no, this is the little scope for the navigator or Wizzo right there. Checking the fit of that. A little bit more sanding and the fit on it. Again, like the rest of the kit, absolutely perfect. Now we're cutting off the control sticks and also the throttle. It will be painted on after or towards the end of the build. Again, I'm cutting everything off from the base of the 3D print block, and then after that is cut off, then I am cleaning everything up with my sprue cutters, very gingerly applying pressure to cut off the supports. Alright, now we're getting the front canopy ready, or the windscreen ready. At the very beginning I said that the stand was the only plastic parts of the kit. I was wrong. The clear parts are plastic, and then also the only plastic part of the stand is the actual arm that goes on it. The base for the stand is 3D printed as well. So now we're just applying the mask that comes with the kit, and again, perfect cut fit for the clear parts. And they do have the mask for the inside and outside of the canopy, so you can paint that separately as well. So now we're sawing off the floor and doing a test fit on the floor for it. Fit was really nice. Those 3D print support areas that you see on the floor, I'm going to have to sand off later. Doing a test fit of the whole cockpit now together, and everything seems to be fitting fine. But again, I'm going to have to sand off later those supports that are running along the underside of the floor. Now we have the actual backside of the fuselage right here. Again, the same thing with the front edge of the cockpit. This part was a actual nightmare to get cut off of the cast block because it was such a curve that you can't just run your saw all the way around it. You had to lightly score it and just go light score after light score after light score. So this one did take a little bit, and also the casting block, yeah, is actually pretty thick on this. Now doing a test fit of the fuselage sections. The fit was pretty good. Still need to do a little bit of cleanup, and that's going to be the only area that's going to require any putty in this build. Right there is just that little seam right there. Easy to fill in and sand, so no issues with that. All right, so now we have the cockpit tub painted. Now I'm masking off these little blocks for the footrest, I guess, right in front of the rudder pedals of the pilot and Wizzo right there. So just using some very thin Tamiya tape to mask it off. It's not going to be perfect, but it's not barely going to be visible. And on top of that, we're going to be coming in and doing some chipping on that a little bit later. So now for these little blast curtains that they have on the side of the windows on the cockpit, just using the AK marker silver for the outside of it, and then I painted it with the NATO gray for the inside. Now for the painting of the camouflage, I use the AK camouflage putty, which the Mosquito was the first time I used it, and I absolutely love this stuff. Now I will be using it for a lot of future builds coming up, but again, just pull it out and then you can shape it to however you need it to be, and doesn't leave a residue on the model, and then you can apply your masking tape in between areas, and it actually does stick. The tape does stick to the putty as well. Also for the base brown, I use the MRP SEA brown for now. I'm going to be using the MRP SEA green, Southeast Asia green for this as well. Alright, so now that the black area is almost all masked off, I'm using some painter's tape from Walmart just to mask off some larger areas of it, but I'm going to be using the Tamiya NATO black for the underside and the black area of this, masking off the front windshield because there is a black stripe that goes along the bottom of the canopy for the windshield. But I'm going to end up having to repaint that here in a little bit anyways. So now we're just removing all the masking tape off of here. Again, using the Tamiya tape and the painter's tape, no issue with that. I didn't have any overspray luckily. So everything on here is looking good, and that is the end of the main paint. Now you can see with the AK flat black marker going in and doing some touch up on some areas like along the edge of the cockpit and the entry rails for the cockpit. Alright, so now we're starting to add in the 3D printed decals for this kit using the instrument panels and everything on that's included in the kit. What I do is I let them sit in my warm water for about 10 to 15 seconds, and I pull it out, and then I can just dot off the extra water, and then I apply some super glue to it and stick it on. Now, if the cockpit was going to be closed, I would be worried about fogging from the super glue, but with the cockpit all going to be opened up, not really worried about the fogging, so I can use super glue for this. Now, if it wasn't going to be, or if the cockpit was going to be closed, I would be using some white glue for this. Now we're moving on to the regular decals, and the regular decals for this kit were absolutely amazing. No issues with those. They went down super fine. Again, using my warm water. I use a candle warmer from Walmart to keep my water warm. And again, I only need to have the decals in the water for about 15 to 20 seconds. Sometimes it, depending on the actual decal and the manufacturer, can take up to 40 seconds. But again, the decals come right off with no issue on that. So if you can get one from Walmart, I think they're like 10 or 15 bucks, but I've been using the same one for 10 years now. So all right, so now all the decals are done. So I'm going to come in with my microsol set, apply it over all the decals, and then I'm going to let that set overnight while that all does its job and sinks the decal into the model, and then that's it. So now we're moving on to the weathering. So I already took care of the Flory Models wash, the dark dirt, off camera because I was showing a friend on how to use it. So now I'm using the Tamiya panel liner, and I like using this stuff for areas like bolt areas or anything like that, where it might be a little bit difficult to get into and clean up with the Flory model wash, or any area that I want to leave a little bit grungy. I'll use a Tamiya panel line wash. So I'm just applying it now. Then I'm going to let it dry for a little bit, and then I'll come in with a cotton bud dampened with the Aptalum 502 odorless thinner, and then do cleanup from there, as you can see right now going on, and just leaving a little bit of a grunge to it so it doesn't look like it's factory fresh. And then I'm just going to apply it on everything else right here, then let it dry, going on by section. So you don't want to let it sit for too long because otherwise it will be even more difficult to get off. So I let it sit there for about 30 to 40 minutes before I wipe it off. I don't want to let it set for any longer than that. Now with the Flory model wash and stuff I use for the actual fuselage, it's a clay based wash, and I have let that stuff set on a model for an entire weekend, and when I came in to clean it up, it cleaned up just as easy as what it would have cleaned up after an hour. So now for the black parts, I was going to try the Tamiya gray wash, but that didn't work, so now I'm using the Flory Models gray wash on the black parts right here to sink into all the rivets. See right there, the dark dirt that I used for the fuselage and the canopy parts right there. Then I let it dry, and then just with a wet paper towel, you can wipe off all the excess and everything fits into the seams like you want it. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the instrument combing, and after that is all done, we're going to be coming in later and adding in some more weathering to the instrument combing. But back to the Tamiya panel liner black, going on with the underside, doing some more weathering on that. Sorry, at this point I did not realize that my camera was zoomed in this much. Alright, so now we're moving on to the weathering and using the chipping technique. I just grabbed some AK real metal or real color aluminum with a sponge that I tore up attached to a tweezers, and then dab the sponge in the paint, and then kind of wipe off the excess on a paper towel, and then just dab it on the model for the chipping. And then later on we're going to come in and add some zinc chromate in to mix that up. Now we're going on to the fading and weathering of the instrument combing. First, using this Mr. Weathering Color White, I'm just going to dot it on and spread it. Then I'm using a stippling brush that I got from Amazon to kind of blend it in. It looks rough now, but you have to just trust the process. Up next is cream brown, and just kind of dirty it up a little bit on that, and then just again stipple it in, working lighter to darker, because up next we'll be using the gray, multi-gray right there from Mr. Weathering Color. Then up next will be the multi-black, and once everything dries it really does look kind of sun beaten down and weathered. So now I'm using the AK color pencil's dirty white to kind of highlight the seats, and then again kind of stippling it in with the brush, fading it in right there. That's how I've been doing it. It seems to work. The one thing I need to get is for the olive drab seats, I need to get a yellow pencil to kind of fade in the green seats as well. Alright, so now we got the cockpit tub all in and assembled, and now I'm applying the front windscreen to it. And this is where I started running into issues. The UV resin glue, the clear glue that I was using, which I typically use for my clear canopies and such, was giving me a little bit of a headache. And then come to find out it was because the flashlight batteries had run really low and was not giving it the cure effect that I was hoping for. So again, after a while, I didn't realize that the batteries were low at this point, so I ended up using just some CA glue to get that attached. And as you can see, now we have a little bit of a fit issue because the instrument combing is in, and it is just a fraction of a millimeter too high. So it is causing that fit issue right along the edge. Now we're just adding in the bottom floor right there, and then I got some cleanup to do of the dust because I did need to go in with my Dremel and clean up the underside to get the floor to fit on that. So again, just going in with some super glue, adding in that back wall. Again, everything fit perfectly. Just a little bit of a gap to fill in with some super glue and then a little bit of pressure, and it fit in perfectly. And now I got these little the plates that go on the back and the front. Now, the one thing about this kit is during the instructions, they would have you put these parts on pretty much mid build right here. And these do seem like they would be a major breakage hazard while building and moving around, because those just hang there like that. There is a little piece of photo etch that goes off the right along the edge of it. And then the front ones, I did end up breaking one off a little bit later on. I was able to get it fixed. And again, repeating myself, but with the small photo etch parts that go onto this, they do include spares just in case you do break something off. Right, and like I said, there's a little bit of a misfit between the front windshield and the fuselage. So I came in very carefully, sanded it down, and I got it to a acceptable point right there, sanding it. And then I'm going to come back in with my AK marker and repaint the black on that. So. All right, so getting the windows in, this is also when I noticed the flashlight wasn't strong enough and the window did keep on slipping out. So I did get some of the glue on the window and kind of messed it up, but it's an acceptable level to me. Now we're adding in the little photo etch parts that go onto the center railing of the cockpit, and there are some very tiny photo etch pieces. I'm using my Ennies tweezers, precision tweezers for that. Alright, so now I'm wrapping up the build. All I got are a few things to do with this, just removing the tape and putting it on the stand. So in a little bit, you're going to be at the photo booth, and I want to apologize in advance for repeating myself in the outro because I was not planning on doing this voiceover while I was filming that. All right, and that's a wrap for the Reskit 132nd F-111A Escape Capsule. And this kit, as you saw in this video, went together absolutely amazing. The only parts I had any issues were with the front canopy and the I guess windows, you would call them, getting those attached, but everything else went together absolutely great. Didn't have any issues with the fit of the cockpit, or the instrument panel, or the back walls, or ejection seats, anything like that. Everything went in perfectly. So just getting this turned around so you can see the final product right here. Everything, like I said, went together absolutely amazing. I was having a little bit of an issue with my UV resin glue, but come to find out, it was because the batteries on my UV flashlight were getting very low and were not putting out the power that was needed to actually cure the glue. So once I changed out the batteries, the glue worked as advertised. So no issues with that after I got it fixed. So if you're ever having an issue with that UV resin glue, make sure and check the batteries on your flashlight that you're using to make sure that they are charged up enough. But the detail in this kit is absolutely amazing. The cockpit detail with the 3D printed decals and everything. The resin cast parts in here, absolutely amazing. As you'll see here in a second on the underside of the fuselage, as you go in here, looks absolutely amazing on here. And as you can see on the underside as well, all that is done right there. So again, I am really happy with this. And the nice thing about Reskit is with the very small photo etch parts, and also with some of the very small resin parts, they did include extras. So just in case you break something, or you ping one of the small levers or something like that off into the carpet monster land, you have a spare. So that was very nice in that. So again, I really happy with this kit. The decals, again, absolutely amazing. There weren't a lot of decals on this kit, but the decals that were here did go down without any issue. And then of course the 3D printed decals and everything else, as you saw, went down without any issues and fit perfectly. I only had to trim one little piece down a little bit, and that was I'm not sure if that was on me or if the print was a little bit too big. But again, super happy with this. With the paints, I used the MRP Southeast Asia camo scheme paints, the green and the brown, and then I used NATO black for the black parts of this. And as you saw earlier in the video, I did need to sand down right along the edge of the canopy or the front windscreen to get that to fit. And then after that, instead of going in and masking everything off and then repainting everything, I just went in with a AK Markers flat black pen, and it does the job just as well. Again, this isn't going to any shows or anything like that. That's just going to be on my shelf. So it's good enough for me. But again, super happy with this. If you get the chance to get this kit and you're looking for something small and a quick, easy build, this one took me about a week and a half to do maybe. And that was with me working on the Tamiya Mosquito along with this as well for the first couple days of this build. But again, if you get the chance to get this, I highly recommend it. It is a super fun build. Goes together absolutely amazing. It's a nice shelf piece. Doesn't take up a lot of space, and all the detail that is in the cockpit is absolutely amazing. You do have the option of having it with the having it ejected. So if it's ejected, you can put the canopy doors closed, and then if you can get pilots for it, that is one downside I would say to this kit. At least with the F-111A. I'm not sure about the Australian Pig, if the seat belts are molded into the seats like they are on this one, because they do have Australian pilots for it, but they don't have American or US pilots for this version. So I'm not sure if the Australian one has the seat belts molded into it or not, or if you will have to shave those off to get the pilots in there. So if you're going to do the ejected version, you're going to want to have pilots in there. But again, the sad thing about putting in pilots is you're going to cover up all the detail with those 3D printed decals and everything that's in the cockpit. I'm going to try to get you around so you can kind of see inside of the cockpit right here. As you can see, all that super nice detail. Now that I've started using the 3D printed decals, I will never use Edwards two-dimensional photo etch cockpit stuff for 1/32 or 1/48. The difference between the two is night and day, and they cost about the same, maybe a little bit more for the 3D printed decals, but you can tell the difference right there on the difference between a 2D and a 3D printed instrument face right there. So again, and then you can see on the underside through the mirror all the detail that's on that right there. Again, super nice detail printed into this as well, and the fit is really nice as well. And then you also get this stand for it. Let's see if I can get that in. The stand is also comes with this little placard right up here that's 3D printed, and then the decal for the squadron is included in the kit as well. Alright, so that's all I got. I hope you guys enjoyed this full build video of the F-111. I plan on doing a couple of these with some of the quicker, easier builds I have, some of the ones that aren't going to take months to do. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, but thank you for watching, and if you haven't yet, don't forget to like and subscribe, comment down below, hit the bell button for notifications of when I post future content, and until next time, I hope you guys have a great day, you stay frosty, and happy modeling.